I was admiring their infinity pool when Sarah dropped the bomb about my pretend career. 3 hours later, I'd smiled through their entire lecture about real work. By Tuesday morning, their real job company had lost 70% of its revenue in a single email. My name is Marcus. I'm 46 years old and I've been developing games for 18 years. What started as modding in college became freelance mobile development, then corporate gamification projects. I work from my home office in San Diego, creating training simulations and engagement platforms for Fortune 500 companies. Most clients never meet me face to face. Sarah Chen had been building up to this moment all evening. First, she'd mentioned how quaint it was that I worked from home. Then came the passive-aggressive questions about my schedule flexibility. By the time I complimented their backyard setup, the custom fire pit, the professional-grade outdoor kitchen, that stunning pool, she was ready to deliver her verdict on my life choices. The Chens had moved in 18 months earlier. Tech money, obviously. Derek worked as VP of Business Development at Next Tech Solutions, one of those mid-tier consulting firms that branded themselves as innovation partners. Sarah did something in marketing for a wellness startup. They drove matching Tesla Model X's and had opinions about everything. I'd been invited to their Memorial Day barbecue along with most of the neighborhood. The invitation came with a subtle undertone of charity. Poor Marcus, working alone all day, probably needs social interaction. I almost declined, but curiosity won out. I wanted to see how they'd furnish that house. This place is incredible, I told Derek as he flipped expensive steaks on his $4,000 Weber. The pool especially. I've been thinking about getting something like this myself. Derek's chest puffed up visibly. Well, you know what they say. Location, location, location. Though, I'll be honest, a place like this requires serious income. We stretched ourselves pretty thin initially, but the business is growing so fast we'll be comfortable soon. Sarah joined us, wine glass in hand. Derek's company just landed 3 major contracts this quarter. Real corporate work, you know? Enterprise solutions, B2B relationships, the whole 9 yards. That's fantastic. I said, what kind of solutions? Training platforms mostly. Employee engagement systems. We've got this one client. I can't name names, but let's just say they're revolutionizing how companies onboard new hires. Gamification elements, progress tracking, the works. Derek's team manages the client relationship. Derek nodded importantly. It's complex stuff. Corporate training has moved way beyond PowerPoint presentations. Now it's about creating immersive experiences, measuring engagement metrics, building something that actually changes behavior. I sipped my beer. Sounds cutting edge. Oh, it is. This particular platform has been a game changer for our clients' retention rates. Reduced training time by 40%, increased knowledge retention by 60%. The data's incredible. Sarah leaned in conspiratorially. Honestly, Marcus, I don't know how people make a living with, what is it you do again? Game development? Something like that. Right. I mean, it's fine for a hobby, but for serious money, she gestured at their house. This kind of lifestyle requires stability. Derek's got benefits, equity participation, a real career track. When you're freelancing, you're basically just unemployed between projects, right? Derek tried to soften his wife's directness. Sarah just means that entrepreneurship can be unpredictable. Corporate work provides security, predictable income, growth opportunities. I started as a junior account manager 5 years ago. Now I'm managing our largest client relationships, which is exactly what I mean, Sarah continued, warming to her theme. To afford a house like this, you need to be building something long-term. Real career advancement, not just, I don't know, making little games on your computer. The other neighbors were listening now. The Johnsons, the Patels, even Mrs. Rodriguez from the corner house. Sarah had an audience for her lecture on professional responsibility. I'm not criticizing, she said, though her tone suggested otherwise. Everyone has different priorities. Some people value freedom and flexibility over financial security. It's just that when you want nice things, she gestured again at their elaborate setup. You have to make adult choices about your career. Derek nodded along. The tech industry's brutal if you're not positioned correctly. Companies want partners, not contractors. They want strategic relationships, not just someone doing tasks. My role is about understanding their business needs, their growth objectives, their competitive landscape. Exactly! Sarah's voice was gaining momentum. Derek doesn't just do work, he solves problems. He's at the strategy level, not the implementation level. That's why he can command serious compensation. I finished my beer. You're absolutely right about that. See? I knew you'd understand. It's not personal, it's just economics. The gig economy is fine for side income, but building wealth requires institutional relationships. Mrs. Rodriguez looked uncomfortable. The Johnsons had found reasons to examine their phones, but Sarah was on a roll. Like, I'm sure your games are fun and everything, but at the end of the day, are they solving real business problems? Are they creating measurable value for enterprise clients? When Derek's company bills out his time, they're charging for strategic consulting, not just technical services. Derek was nodding earnestly. Corporate clients pay premium rates for expertise they can't find internally. It's about positioning yourself as indispensable. Which brings me back to my original point, Sarah concluded. To live like this, you have to work like this. Professional careers, not just whatever it is you do at home all day. I smiled and nodded. You make excellent points. The conversation moved on to neighborhood topics, the upcoming HOA meeting, someone's landscaping dispute, plans for the community 4th of July party. But I'd heard enough for one evening. As I walked home, I considered Sarah's lecture about real careers and adult choices. She wasn't entirely wrong about predictable income being valuable. The difference was in scale. My contract with Nextech Solutions, administered through Talent Bridge Consulting, was worth $847,000 annually. They billed my work to their clients at rates between $300 and $500 per hour, depending on project complexity. The training platform Derek had described so enthusiastically, the one revolutionizing corporate onboarding, I'd built that entire system. Every gamification element, every progress tracking feature, every engagement metric Sarah had gushed about. I was Nextech's largest external contractor. My platforms generated approximately 70% of their billable revenue, and according to my contract's termination clause, I could end our relationship with 30 days written notice. Monday morning, I did something I'd been considering for months anyway. I opened my laptop and composed a brief email to Janet Morrison, my primary contact at Talent Bridge Consulting. Janet, please consider this formal notice of my intent to terminate the Nextech Solutions contract, effective 30 days from today. I'll complete all deliverables currently in progress, but won't be accepting new assignments. Best regards, Marcus. Janet called within an hour. Marcus, what's this about? Is Nextech not meeting payment terms? Are there scope issues we need to address? Nothing like that. I'm just exploring other opportunities. Other opportunities? Marcus, this contract represents nearly 80% of your annual billings. Are you sure you want to? I'm sure. 30 days. Janet's voice shifted into crisis management mode. Okay, let me understand the timeline. You've got the McKinnon Industries rollout finishing next week, the petrochemical safety module delivering the week after that, and the quantum finance customization due the 15th of next month. If you complete those projects, Nextech will have functional platforms, but no ongoing development capability. That's correct. Marcus, I have to ask, do they understand what this means? The institutional knowledge you've built into their systems, the customization protocols, the database architectures, the integration frameworks? I'd been thinking about that myself. Over 18 months, I'd created not just individual training platforms, but an entire ecosystem. Custom content management systems, automated testing suites, performance analytics dashboards, user behavior tracking, all interconnected, all proprietary, all documented in ways that made sense to me, but would require months for another developer to decipher. That's their problem to solve. Jesus, Marcus. Okay, I need to think about how to handle this with Nextech. Derek Chen's been our primary contact there. Should I reach out to him directly or go through their technical team? Derek Chen, I almost laughed. Your call, Janet, just make sure the 30-day notice is officially logged. After hanging up, I spent the morning reviewing my financial position. The Nextech contract had been lucrative, but I'd been conservative with the income. My investment portfolio was sitting at $1.8 million. My emergency fund covered 18 months of expenses, and I owned my house outright. I could afford to be selective about what came next. By Wednesday, my phone started ringing. The first call came from Derek himself. Marcus, hey buddy. Listen, I heard through the grapevine that you might be ending your contract with Talent Bridge. I wanted to reach out personally. Maybe we can work something out directly? Work what out? Well, I don't know all the details of your arrangement, but if there are issues with the consulting firm, maybe we can bypass them entirely. Bring you on as a direct contractor, better terms, more stability. Derek clearly had no idea what he was talking about. I appreciate the offer, but I'm good. Come on, let's at least discuss it. You know how much we value the work you've been doing. The platforms you've built are absolutely critical to our client relationships. That was interesting. Critical how? Marcus, between you and me, your platforms are basically our entire product offering. The customization capabilities, the analytics, the user experience, that's what differentiates us from every other training company out there. We can't afford to lose that competitive advantage. So Derek did understand the situation, at least partially. I'm flattered, but I've already committed to exploring other opportunities. What other opportunities? Maybe we can match whatever you're considering, or beat it. That evening, Sarah Chen knocked on my door. She looked considerably less confident than she had at the barbecue. Marcus, hi. Listen, I wanted to apologize if I came across as, well, if I said anything offensive the other night. Sometimes I get a little intense about career stuff. No offense taken. Good. Because Derek mentioned that you might be making some professional changes, and I just wanted to say, if there's anything we can do to help, any connections or references or whatever, we're here for you. That's kind of you. I mean, we're neighbors. We should support each other, right? And if you're looking at new opportunities, maybe there's a way we can work together. Derek's always talking about bringing in specialized talent. The desperation was becoming obvious, but I was curious how much they actually knew. What exactly did Derek tell you about my work situation? Sarah's composure cracked slightly. Just that you might be transitioning between projects, and that maybe Nextech could offer you something more stable than what you've been doing. More stable than what specifically? Well, freelancing, contract work, the uncertainty of project-based income. I almost felt sorry for her, almost. By Friday, Derek was calling twice daily. The messages grew increasingly frantic. Marcus, we need to talk. There are things about our business model that... Look, can we just meet for coffee? 30 minutes. I think there's been some miscommunication about the scope of what you do for us. I didn't return his calls. Monday morning, Janet called with updates. Marcus, I've been fielding calls from Nextech all week. Their CEO wants to discuss the situation personally. Apparently, they're prepared to double your current contract value. Double it? $1.7 million annually, plus equity participation, plus benefits if you're willing to come on as a direct employee. They're panicking. Any indication why? Janet laughed. Oh, I think I'm starting to understand the dynamics here. I spoke with their technical director. Apparently, your platforms aren't just products they sell. They're the foundation of every client contract they have. Without ongoing development and support, those systems will start degrading within months. Degrading how? Integration failures, security vulnerabilities, performance issues. Plus, they've got a pipeline of new client customizations that require your specific frameworks. Without you, they can't deliver on contracts they've already signed. How much revenue are we talking about? According to their financial guy, about $12 million in signed contracts over the next 18 months. All dependent on platform capabilities they can't replicate internally. That was interesting math. My annual contract was worth $847,000. Nextech's revenue from my work was worth $12 million. Derek's entire department, 4 account managers, 2 business analysts, 1 project coordinator, existed to sell my development capabilities. Tuesday brought a new escalation. Derek showed up at my house at 7 a.m. Marcus, please, 5 minutes. I need you to understand what's happening here. I invited him in for coffee. Look, he said, I think there's been a fundamental misunderstanding about the business relationship. When I said you were a contractor, I didn't mean you were replaceable. I meant you were specialized, essential, critical infrastructure. Essential how? Derek's hands were shaking slightly. Marcus, without your platforms, we don't have a company. Every client we've signed, every contract we've negotiated, every revenue projection we've made, it all depends on continued platform development. And you're just realizing this now? No, I mean, yes, I knew it intellectually, but I didn't understand the implications. I thought the platforms were, I don't know, more standardized. Like we could bring in other developers if needed. Can you? Apparently not. Our technical team spent the weekend reviewing your code architecture. They say it would take months just to understand the frameworks, maybe a year to achieve your development velocity. Derek leaned forward. Marcus, I'm going to be completely honest with you. If you terminate this contract, Nextech Solutions is finished. Not struggling, finished. We'll have to lay off 80% of our staff and default on our client contracts. That sounds like a serious business problem. It is, which is why I'm here asking, what do you want? Seriously, name your terms. Double the contract value, triple it. Equity participation, creative control, whatever it takes. I sip my coffee. The thing is, Derek, I'm not really motivated by money at this point. Then what? What would make you reconsider? I thought about Sarah's lecture, about real careers and adult choices and building something long term. Nothing, actually. I've already decided to move on. Derek's face went white. Marcus, please, you don't understand. Sarah and I, we bought this house based on projected income growth. We've got a mortgage payment that requires my current salary level. If Next Tech fails, you'll figure something out. After Derek left, I made myself a second cup of coffee and opened my email. Sitting in my inbox was a message from Elena Vasquez, VP of Developer Relations at Gameforge Entertainment. Marcus, we've been following your work through industry channels and would like to discuss a unique opportunity. We're building a new gamification division focused on enterprise training solutions and need a lead architect with your specific expertise. The role would involve platform development, team leadership, and strategic client relationships. Base compensation $350,000, plus equity, plus performance bonuses. Are you available for a conversation this week? Elena, I scheduled the call for Thursday afternoon. By Wednesday, I'd received 47 calls from Nextech employees. Derek, his boss, their CEO, their technical director, even their legal counsel. None of the calls were returned. Thursday's conversation with Gameforge went extremely well. Elena had done her homework. She knew about my platform architectures, my client success metrics, even my preferred development frameworks. The position they were offering wasn't just a job. It was an opportunity to build an entire division around my expertise. We've been watching Nextech's growth trajectory, Elena explained. Impressive revenue numbers, but we suspect the technical capability is concentrated in a very small team. Possibly a team of one. That's an accurate assessment, which presents an interesting opportunity for us. We can offer better compensation, better resources, and frankly, better respect for what you bring to the table. Plus equity participation in a company that's actually growing. The offer was comprehensive. $350,000 base salary, 40,000 stock options, $50,000 signing bonus, full benefits, and a $100,000 annual development budget for tools and training. More importantly, they understood what my work was worth. Friday morning, I sent my final email to Janet Morrison. Contract termination confirmed. Final deliverables will be uploaded by end of business today. Thanks for the professional relationship over the past 18 months. By noon, Derek was at my door again. This time, Sarah was with him. Marcus, she said, I owe you a massive apology. I had no idea about the scope of your work or your professional relationship with Derek's company. I was completely out of line at the barbecue. Derek looked like he hadn't slept in days. Marcus, our CEO authorized me to offer you anything. Literally anything. $2 million annually, 20% equity stake, complete creative control. You'd basically be a partner in the business. That's generous. So you'll consider it? No. Sarah stepped forward. Marcus, please, we're about to lose everything. The house, Derek's job, our entire life here. If there's anything at all, that would make you reconsider. I looked at their desperate faces and felt something approaching sympathy, but not quite enough to change my mind. I'm sorry it worked out this way. Derek's voice cracked. Can you at least tell me why? What did we do wrong? I thought about explaining the irony, how they'd lectured me about real careers while their entire lifestyle depended on my freelance work. How Sarah had dismissed my profession as inadequate for serious money, while my income subsidized their mortgage payments. How Derek had positioned himself as strategically essential while functioning as a middleman for my technical capabilities. Instead, I said, nothing personal, just business. The Gameforge paperwork was finalized the following Monday. My new office was in downtown San Diego, with ocean views and a team of 12 developers working under my direction. The signing bonus alone was more than Derek's annual salary. 3 weeks later, I was reviewing quarterly projections when my real estate agent called. Marcus, remember that house you mentioned? The one in your neighborhood with the infinity pool? It just hit the market. Motivated sellers priced to move. They're asking $2.4 million, but I think we can negotiate. The listing photos showed Derek and Sarah's house in pristine condition. Professional staging, strategic lighting, the works. But the asking price was $400,000 below what they'd paid 18 months earlier. According to my agent, they needed to close quickly due to changed financial circumstances. I made an offer of $1.9 million contingent on a 30-day close. The Chens accepted within 24 hours. Moving day was beautifully ironic. As I supervised the installation of my home office equipment in what used to be Derek's study, I watched them load their belongings into a rental truck. Sarah was crying quietly while Derek argued with someone on his phone, probably a creditor. Their Tesla Model X's had been replaced by a single Honda Accord with a dented bumper. According to neighborhood gossip, they'd moved in with Sarah's parents in Riverside. Derek had found work as a junior account manager at a small consulting firm. His salary was approximately 60% of what Gameforge was paying me monthly. That evening, I hosted a small housewarming party for my new Gameforge team. We grilled steaks by the infinity pool while discussing our upcoming product launch. The weather was perfect, the company was excellent, and the view from my new deck was spectacular. Elena raised her wine glass for a toast to Marcus for showing us that the best talent isn't always found in corporate hierarchies. Sometimes the most valuable people are working quietly, building something extraordinary while everyone else argues about org charts. I thought about Sarah's lecture regarding real careers and adult choices, about Derek's confidence in his strategic indispensability, about their assumption that freelance work was somehow less serious than the corporate employment. As it turned out, they were half right about one thing. Building wealth does require making adult choices about your career. They'd just misunderstood which choices were actually adult ones. I sipped my wine and watched the sunset reflect off the pool that was now mine. Sometimes the most satisfying victories are the ones where you don't have to say a word. You just let the results speak for themselves. The final irony came 6 months later when Derek called to ask if I was hiring. His new firm was struggling, and he thought his experience with platform-based training solutions might be valuable to Gameforge's enterprise division. I told him I'd keep his resume on file. We haven't spoken since.